the state on the telephone. We have Mr. Brashour and Mr. Wilson for the Public Defender's Office here in the courtroom. The first case of our 4 on the docket is Jessica King, 19 CT 1977. She's here for a VOP arraignment. She does have private counsel. Mr. Fayette 4 days ago filed a written plea of not guilty or a denial. So we can take this off the docket unless that's already been done, Tommy. March 30th, thank you. All right, leaving us with 3 cases. Rich, tell me if I call the one in custody. Rose Borders, she in custody? Okay. Lisa, we'll take her last. Lisa Corial, 19 CT 1617. Good morning, ma'am. You're here for a violation of probation arraignment. Do you have a lawyer?
I applied for one, but I mailed it in and I called them last week and they don't have it.
Okay, so it sounds like you want the public defender.
Do I need one for this type of?
Well, I can't give you that legal advice. I can ask the prosecutor if there's an offer, and then then you decide whether you want to take it or not.
Okay.
You might want to enter a plea of not guilty or a denial today. Then we give you another court date. That'll give you more time to get your attorney.
I can go downstairs today, right, and apply again.
Absolutely.
That's what I'd like.
Actually, I'll tell you what, why don't you do this? We're already on the first floor. Why don't you leave this courtroom and go apply right now and then come back and see me? And if you qualify for the public defender, I'll appoint them to represent you. You've got 2 of them right here in the courtroom, okay?
Okay.
So don't leave the courthouse.
No, I just go down the hall, right?
And then you come right back to see me. So I need to see you in 10 minutes, okay?
Oh, sure, yes.
Okay, so we'll recall this case, sure.
Thank you very much.
Ronnie Johnson, 20 mm 1287, who is present. Good morning, Mr. Johnson. So you're here on a violation of probation. Do you have an attorney? Do you plan to get one or handle this yourself? All right, do you want to hear what the offer is from the prosecutor? Ms. Creamy, do you have an offer for Mr. Johnson?
Yes, Judge. It's removed probation, 3 days in jail with credit for all time served and all costs. However, if he comes into compliance with his terms of his probation, that offer may change.
Did you understand what she just said? Okay, I'll explain it to you. She said the offer includes 30 days in jail. However, if you enter a denial today, that's the equivalent of a not guilty plea, and then you make some progress on your outstanding conditions, which are monetary, then that offer may improve. Would you like?
He also failed to do a substance abuse evaluation.
And okay, I see that, and a substance abuse evaluation. So if you enter a denial today, again, that's a not guilty plea. We'll give you another court date. You'll have some more time to do the things you were supposed to do originally, and if you do them, the offer may improve. So it may not include jail time or as much jail time. Is that what you want to do? Okay, that's a denial. And the next court date for Mr. Johnson, please. Okay, sir, sign your notice over here. You're free to go. Mr. Fayette, I thought you had filed a written denial for Jessica King, 19 CT 1977. Yeah, no, that makes sense, in an abundance of caution. So what would you like to do? Do you want to maintain that written denial?
We do, Judge. We're protecting the safety. I think we're going to be able to finish everything, collecting on that. So if you put us out a little further than more, just because so that we can have the time to finish.
What is the, hold on.
I take it back, Judge. She's done by March 8th, so we just got to have
When is the?
March 30th.
March 30th. So once she signs a notice, you're free to go. Okay, thank you. Okay, so Ms. Creamy, we have Lisa Corial, who has left the courtroom to apply for a public defender. We also have one person in custody, and Rich, we're ready on her now. Okay, and that is Rose Borders, 20 mm 195. Good morning, Ms. Borders. You're here on a violation of probation.
Yes, sir.
Do you have a lawyer?
I put in a good video that if I, okay.
Did you apply for the public defender?
So,
Did you apply for the public defender?
yes, sir.
I don't show that application. Mr. Wilson, was this one you were looking into earlier?
Yes, Your Honor.
So, Ms. Borders, I see that the public defender represented you on the underlying charge, the possession of paraphernalia, but you have to apply again for the VOP. Have you applied again?
I did, sir, but nobody ever came to see me.
Well, that's because they don't have your application. Did you ask somebody in the jail for an application for the public defender? Have you done that?
Yes, sir, I did twice.
On the VOP, not on the paraphernalia, but on the VOP specifically.
Oh, I did what you're saying.
Yeah, well, so what I'm saying is you need to apply again, okay? And if that's what you want to do, then you can enter a denial today. That's the equivalent of a not guilty plea, and then you'll have more time to apply for your public defender.
But, can I go ahead, whatever I did, do I look forward to? I want to tell my side of the story.
You want to do what?
I want to tell my side of the story, what's going on.
Okay, so you want a hearing.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so you're entering a denial, and then we'll set it off for a hearing. And that'll give you time to apply for a public defender, and it'll give you an opportunity to tell your side of the story at the hearing. You understand that?
I just want to go ahead and do this, get it over with.
You want to go ahead and do this. Does that mean you want to hear what the offer is?
Yeah.
Ms. Creamy?
Judge, the offer is for both probation, 30 days in jail with credit for all time served and all costs.
So I'll repeat that. The offer is an adjudication of guilt, all costs, 30 days in jail. You do get credit for the time you've already served. Your probation will be revoked with conditions outstanding. You understand that?
Yes, sir.
Do you want to accept that offer?
Yes, sir.
Raise your right hand. You swear to tell the truth, whole truth, nothing but the truth?
Yes, sir.
All right, you can put your hand down. Tell me your name.
Good morning.
And Ms. Borders, do you understand everything we've discussed this morning?
Yes, sir.
Do you have any questions?
No, sir.
And you want to accept the offer I just conveyed to you?
Yes, sir.
Do you admit that you were placed on probation here in Collier County September 2, 2020 for possession of paraphernalia?
Yes, sir.
Do you admit that you violated conditions 2 and 10 of your probation?
Yes, sir.
And condition 1, do you admit that?
Yes, sir.
Did you read a violation of probation admission form?
Sir.
Did you read a violation of probation admission form
Yes,
that explains your rights to you? Did you read that form?
yes, sir.
Do you understand everything that's explained on it?
Yes, sir.
Do you understand that by entering your admission today, you are waiving all of those rights?
Yes, sir.
Do you understand that your admission will be used against you in a deportation proceeding if you are not a United States citizen?
Yes, sir.
Are you under the influence of drugs, alcohol, or medication?
No, sir. I'm on psych meds.
You're on psych meds. Are you taking those meds as prescribed by a medical doctor?
Yes, sir.
Do those medications prevent you from understanding what we're discussing here today?
Yes, sir.
And do you in fact understand everything we've discussed today?
Yes, sir.
Ms. Creamy, anything further from you? All right, Ms. Borders, I'll accept your admission. Find it freely, voluntarily, knowingly entered upon a factual basis and in your best interest. Adjudication, judgment, and sentence as I previously stated. Thank you, ma'am, and good luck to you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Yes.
Can you just confirm the case number, please?
Case number is 20MM195.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you. Oh. Accept. Okay, and that's it for NJC for 9 o'clock. Thank you. And it leaves us our All right, one recall, Lisa Coriel, and she's just not back yet. Okay. Okay, what's the case number?
Case number is 19 CT 1783.
All right, this is Joanna Munivar, 19 CT 1783. Ms. Creamy, do you see that case?
I pulled it up just, I thought I got the docket.
It did because they filed a written denial. But in any event, she's here, that's you, with her attorney. Okay, so this is a violation of probation arraignment. Are you maintaining your written denial or do you want to hear an offer?
Yeah, I'd like to hear the offer.
All right, Ms. Creamy, do you have one? Ma'am, you can come on up. That's okay.
You know what? Yes, sir.
She's going to give you an offer in just a minute.
Judge, the offer would be to modify probation, add an additional 25 hours of community service.
Everything else remains the same.
Yes, Judge, she would still continue on probation and all her original terms and conditions would be reimbursed.
Okay, Mr. Brasher, did you hear that?
So the offer is just there, I have additional 24 hours of service.
The original termination date still applies. All of the original terms and conditions still apply. There would be an additional 25 hours of community service. That's the offer. And it would be a modification.
Judge, what quarter are you in?
Pardon me?
What quarter are you in?
1B. Okay.
Your Honor, she will accept the offer for the additional 25 hours of community.
Let's go to Mr. Hendricks for that. What is the termination date, please?
Is this Joanna, correct?
Yes, sir.
The original termination date is March 16, 2021, obviously this year.
All right.
This is the way with the full time language. We have almost 2 extra months that way.
So was she originally placed on probation, I'm guessing, for 12 months?
Correct, March 16th,
Okay.
2020.
March 16th. So we can't really extend it because the maximum by law is 12 months. But as Mr. Hendricks just indicated, you can have an extra 2 months. Has it been 2 months told?
It looks like, yeah, it looks like it was around the end of January. I don't have the exact date.
So maybe 6 or 7 weeks it's been told.
This was, yeah, we submitted it on January 29th. Okay, so is that right? She has 6 extra weeks. It looks like around that. It's about that. She's pretty positive that she can take care of it
Okay.
in the timeline, but yeah, she just has no extra time. I think it's fine.
Well, what else is left to do other than the additional 25 hours?
She has done the 50 week service. She's paid her probation. We impound that. She has an impound affidavit. She's done a DUI class. She has a certification for that. She basically will finish up March 13th or 16th. And she says she can do the extra 25 hour service.
So you believe everything's been done?
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Hendricks, question about that. They referenced an impoundment affidavit. Has that been presented and accepted by your office?
And I verified the other day that all the conditions satisfied.
Okay, very good. Thank you. All right, so she'd like to accept the offer?
I'm sorry, Judge, I couldn't hear what the discussion was about.
We believe she's got 6 or 7 weeks beyond the original termination date based on the tolling of time since January. And she believes that, and actually Mr. Hendricks just confirmed she's done everything else. So the only remaining condition is the additional 25 hours, which she's going to get done quickly. Okay.
Okay, so in order I should put probation, defendant's probation shall be extended to, do we want to put a specific date?
I'd say 6 weeks beyond the original term date.
6 weeks beyond original termination.
Okay, ma'am, can you raise your right hand, face the clerk to be sworn, please?
Solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you shall give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Okay, you can put your hand down. What is your name? Joanna who? Okay, and do you understand everything we've just discussed? Okay. Right. Right. And then you're completely done. Okay, right. Okay. Okay, very good. And do you have any questions about the offer? Do you want to accept it? All right, do you admit that you were placed on probation here in Collier County March 16, 2020 for DUI? And do you admit that you violated the terms and conditions of your probation, specifically condition 12? All right, has she been given a VOP admission form? All right, Mr. Pershore is going to give you a form, and I just need you can stand there and read it and tell me when you're done, okay? Mr. Hendricks is checking. Okay, ma'am, have you had a chance to read that form? That's a violation of probation admission form. Do you understand everything that's explained on it? And do you understand that by entering your admission today, you're waiving all of those rights? Do you understand that your admission will be used against you in a deportation proceeding if you are not a United States citizen? Are you under the influence of drugs, alcohol, or medication? Mr. Pershore, will you stipulate to venue in the factual basis contained in the discovery material? Okay, ma'am, I'll accept your admission. Find it freely, voluntarily, knowingly entered upon a factual basis and in your best interest, and modify your probation as we previously stated. We're adding 6 weeks and 25 hours of community service. Okay, thank you, ma'am. Good luck to you. Ms. Corial, did you apply? And do you qualify? All right, very good. All right, this is Lisa Marie Corial, 19 CT 1617. She's left the courtroom to apply. She did apply, she qualifies, she's back. So a public defender is appointed to represent you. Mr. Wilson, what would you like to do in this case? So, Ms. Corial, what he just said is he wants to enter a denial, which is the same thing as a not guilty plea today, so that you get another court date, so that your attorney has a chance to look into the case for you and negotiate for you with the prosecutor. You understand all that?
I do.
Okay, so the next court date for her, please.
March 30th.
Once you sign your notice over here, we're done for this morning and you're free to go, but you should talk to these two gentlemen before you leave, okay? They're attorneys with the Public Defender's Office, so they can help you.
All right, very well. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. All right, and I believe that completes our 9 o'clock docket. Anything further to come before the court? All right, we're in recess until 10. I'll be back. Thank you.
Thanks, Judge.
All right, call you then. Bye. Okay, thank you. All right, good morning, Ms. Creamy. We are in session, live streaming on YouTube. This is our 10 o'clock VOP hearing docket. It's 9:58. We're early, but we'll see who's ready to go first early. Mr. Day, do you want to wait? Are you ready?
I think you have my guy right there.
Rick, can you go take him? Okay, good morning, Mr. Fuller. We've got three cases with Talbot Fuller, 21mm 43, 18mm 2376, and 19 CT 717. Mr. Day.
Yes, Your Honor. Mr. Fuller, can you hear me from this microphone?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Your Honor, at this time, it's the violation of probation. He's going to admit the allegations of the substantive charges. He's going to enter a plea of no contest. In terms of the agreement on the substantive charge adjudication, if he sentenced to 60 days in the Collier County Jail with credit for time served, and on the violation, if he sentenced to 60 days in the Collier County Jail with credit for time served, court costs and costs of prosecution will be imposed on the substantive charges.
Judge, I'm sorry, it's hard to hear us today. Could I put the offer on the record, please?
Sure, go ahead.
The two violations, the offer is remote probation, 67 days in jail with credit for time served, and all costs that would run concurrent with each other. On 18mm 2376, because he's being adjudicated, his license will be suspended for 6 months. On 21mm 43, his adjudication, 16 days, 60. In jail, credit time served, all costs, and again, that would run concurrent with the other cases.
Mr. Day?
That's correct, sir.
All right. Anyone been sworn in, Tommy? No. Okay, Mr. Fuller, can you raise your right hand to take an oath, please? Do you swear to tell the truth, whole truth, nothing but the truth?
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you. You can put your hand down. So, Mr. Fuller, you have three cases. 21mm 43. That's the new charge, resisting without violence. The offer is an adjudication of guilt, court cost of prosecution, 60 days in jail, credit for all time served, and 90 days to pay on all cases without probation. All right, and Ms. Creamy, Mr. Day, let me know if I get one of these wrong. Your next case, Mr. Fuller, is 19 CT 717. That is a violation of probation. And the offer there is an adjudication of guilt, court cost of prosecution, 67 days in jail with credit for all time served, and that time, Mr. Day, is concurrent, right, on all cases?
That's correct.
Concurrent on all cases, and your probation is revoked, conditions outstanding. Do you understand that offer?
Yes, sir.
All right, and the final case is 18mm 2376, also a violation of probation, and the offer is an adjudication of guilt, court cost of prosecution, 67 days in jail, credit for all time served. Again, that's concurrent with all cases, and there would be a 6-month driver's license revocation. You understand that offer?
What do you mean by 6 months driver's license?
Because in that case, the charge is possession of marijuana, so you're being convicted of that charge. And when you're convicted of that charge, the Department of Highway Safety Motor Vehicles will revoke your license for 6 months. So that will be a consequence of your admission today.
Yes. Sorry.
Go ahead, Mr.
Mr. Talbot, we'll be able to obtain you a work permit when you get out, get in touch with us, and give it to the Department of Motor Vehicles and coordinate that.
I have no. Okay, Mr. Fuller, do you understand all of the offers in all three cases?
Yes, sir.
All right, in case number 18mm 2376, do you admit that you were placed on probation here in Collier County October 29th, 2019 for possession of marijuana?
Yes, sir.
And do you admit that you violated conditions 5 and 12 of your probation?
Yes, sir.
In case number 19 CT 717, do you admit that you were placed on probation in Collier County October 29, 2019 for resisting without violence?
Yes, sir.
And do you admit that you violated conditions 5 and 12 of your probation in that case?
Yes, sir.
Did you read a VOP admission form and a plea form?
Yes, sir.
Do you understand everything that's explained on those forms?
Yes, sir.
And do you understand that by entering your admissions and your plea, Mr. Day, is that a plea of no contest? By entering your admissions and your plea of no contest, you're waiving those rights in all three cases.
Yes, Your Honor.
Do you understand that your plea and your admissions will be used against you in a deportation proceeding if you're not a United States citizen?
Yes, sir.
Are you under the influence of drugs, alcohol, or medication?
No, sir.
Mr. Day, will you stipulate to venue in the factual basis contained in the discovery material in all three cases? Ms. Karimi, anything further from you? Okay, Mr. Fuller, I will accept your plea and your admissions, find them freely, voluntarily, knowingly entered upon a factual basis and in your best interest. Adjudication on all three cases, judgment and sentence as I previously stated. Thank you, Mr. Fuller, and good luck to you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Yes, sir, and thank you, Mr. Dave. That was it? Okay, thank you. Tommy, can you scroll down, please? Accept. Okay, Mr. Casassa, I thought I saw him. He has stepped down. Okay, we are going to call Mrs. Human on Abby Conrad, 19 CT 2345. Good morning, Mrs. Human. How are you today?
Good morning, Judge Brown. How are you doing?
I am just fine, thank you. We have Ms. Karimi on the phone for the state. Your client is Abby Conrad, case number 19 CT 2345.
Yes, Your Honor. And I have filed a plea in absentia on this. I don't know if Your Honor is willing to speak up this morning or if it's proceeding.
I'm happy to proceed today. I am reviewing the plea in absentia paperwork. Ms. Karimi, have you seen it as well?
Yes, Judge. I previously reviewed it and everything was great.
And just to I'm sorry, go ahead.
Nothing, Judge. I'm sorry.
And to clarify the terms, it's an adjudication, all costs, 90 days in jail, credit for time served, revoked, conditions outstanding.
No, Judge. Revoke probation. There's no 90 days in jail.
I thought I saw 90.
Prosecution to be paid within 60 days.
90 days to pay. Mrs. Human, are you okay there? Did you have a heart attack? I'm sorry, that's my mistake. It's 90 days to pay. So adjudication, all costs, revoked, conditions outstanding, 90 days to pay.
Yes.
Okay, and Mrs. Human, will you stipulate to venue in the factual basis contained in the discovery material?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, and I've reviewed the affidavit for the violation of probation. I'll accept her admission, find it freely, voluntarily, knowingly entered upon a factual basis and in her best interest. Adjudication, court costs, cost of prosecution, 90 days to pay, probation is revoked, conditions outstanding. Mrs. Human, anything else from you?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you very much. Have a great day.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Accept. All right, Mr. Pershore, you have Christopher Ethier, 19mm 1455, who is coming forward. Good morning, Mr. Ethier.
Morning, sir. Yes, Your Honor. He just handed me a piece of paper showing that he's completed his community service. And he just took over probation. Anytime just clarify.
Okay, and Mr. Hendricks just walked back in. What's your update, Mr. Hendricks?
Correct. Can I get the name again, please? Gentlemen?
Ethier, Christopher Ethier.
Yes, I did just talk to
Okay. Mr. Brasher, what would you like to do?
Judge, can I make an offer since our hours are verified now?
Mr. Brasher, are you interested in an offer?
Yes, you may.
Okay, go ahead.
Judge, since we completed the hours, the offer will be revoked, time served, all costs, and as Mr. Hendricks stated, the outstanding payments will go to collection.
Adjudication, all costs, probation is revoked. Any outstanding monetary obligations referred to collections. Sure. Mr. Ethier, I'll recall your, oh,
He does have 41 days credit on this case.
okay, thank you.
Your Honor, we're ready to accept the offer.
All right, sir, will you raise your right hand, face the clerk to be sworn, please?
You solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you shall give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
All right, you can put your hand down. What is your name? Mr. Ethier, do you understand the offer I just articulated? Any questions? Do you want to accept that offer? Do you admit you were placed on probation in Collier County 11/2019 for, this is an alligator related offense? And do you admit you violated conditions 2 and 5 of your probation? Did you read a violation of probation admission form? Do you understand everything that's explained on the form? Do you understand that by entering your admission today, you are waiving all of those rights? Do you understand that your admission will be used against you in a deportation proceeding if you are not a United States citizen? Are you under the influence of drugs, alcohol, or medication? Mr. Brasher, will you stipulate to venue in the factual basis contained in the discovery material?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, Mr. Ethier, I'll accept your admission. Find it freely, voluntarily, knowingly entered upon a factual basis and in your best interest. Adjudication, all costs, your probation is revoked. And as I said earlier, any outstanding monetary obligations referred to collections, okay? Thank you, Mr. Ethier. Good luck to you. Accept. Okay, Mr. Brasher, you have Devin Findley, 19 CT 218.
Yes, Your Honor. I would just ask for a continuance and such as the status. I did not set this hearing date.
Ms. Karimi?
Your Honor, we were set for hearing today.
Okay, what's the delay, Mr. Brasher?
I have yet to talk to my client. I have not really, but I would like to get an offer. So,
Was he here?
Mr. Delegator.
Devin Findley? Mr. Hendricks?
This is one of those, I think the last time he wasn't here was listed as coronavirus. 3 other times before that, he wasn't here based on.
Thank you.
This is the 11th DOD court case in this case that was filed a year ago.
All right, well, we'll pass on Mr. Findley and see if he shows up by the end of the docket, okay? Mr. Casassa? No. Mr. Brasher, you have Wanda Lohman, 17 CT 238.
Yes, Your Honor, as agreed to by the state, officer in progress, she was said she didn't have to show up today. We got the progress report, probation has it, an email to them. So I would just ask this, so you can finish up the probation.
Ms. Karimi?
This is the one that lives in Maryland, correct?
Yes.
Okay, yes, Judge, no objection for another status date.
All right, when is that next? 3:30 at 10 o'clock for Wanda Lohman. Next, with Mr. Brasher, is Michael McDonald, 19 CT 1538. Who is coming forward. Good morning, Mr. McDonald.
Yes, Your Honor, he's making progress. He's completed his last DUI for the probation fee. He has no vehicle for it now. He was concerned about the coronavirus and getting contact, but he didn't realize that he could do pretty much everything online. So he says community service, needs to be met. And then he wants to get back class online. He wanted to request if he could just pay out for the community service.
All right, so you're requesting a continuance with a waiver
Yes, Your Honor.
and the buyout option.
Yes, Your Honor.
Ms. Creamy, any objection to either of those two requests?
Judge, I don't have an objection to buying out, but could Mr. Hendricks verify or let me know if the defendant has been making progress? My last update was he has not been.
Mr. Hendricks.
Correct, but we don't have any progress made since the last court date. Months on this morning I haven't seen, but I have all the conditions still remaining outstanding.
Sorry, Judge, it was really hard to get.
Mr. Hendricks said he does not show any progress from the last court date. Mr. Pursuer just handed him a document. Mr. Hendricks.
Yeah, this looks like a completion of his DUI school that he completed 14 months ago. If he did not have this, that's fine, and he was referred to counseling. I don't know the progress on the counseling.
That is a DUI certificate of completion from 14 months ago. He was referred to counseling, and we don't know the status of the counseling. So, Mr. Pursuer, can you tell me whether he's done anything since the last court date?
It's just what I said, that he's already told me he's done. He was just unaware of the online access.
Which is what? Okay, repeat it again very specifically. Not what he's done in general, but from the last court date, what has he done, if anything?
He's completed the class DUI.
Well, I thought that was done 14 months ago.
But I'm just, his probation fee.
Was that done since the last court date?
Yes.
Mr. Hendricks, can you verify that? So the progress, again, so the answer to my question. Well, your case has been outstanding a long time, sir, and that realization should have come to you earlier, so you might have some problems now. I'm not going to delay this case indefinitely because it's taken you this long to make that realization. Okay, just hold on a second now. It's all right.
Like I had listed $175 probation fees.
We're not sure yet.
January 26th, he paid those in full. So that was last 14 weeks. Same day.
Okay, so he paid his outstanding fees.
Yeah, so that's, the fee was paid, I'll say the fee was paid the same day as the last court date.
Okay, so there has been some progress. Ms. Creamy, earlier you said you have no objection to the buyout option on community service?
No, I know Your Honor, Mr. Fisher can prepare the order.
I will ask him to do that. Okay, so Mr. McDonald, your next court date is March 30th at 10 o'clock. You do have the buyout option for community service. Now, what that means is you have very little reason to come in next time and tell me it's not done, because you can either do the community service, you can pay it off at $10 an hour, or any combination of the two. So there's really no reason not to have that done. So when you come back in here next time, I need to see a lot of progress. You understand that? All right, so you just can sign your notice over here, and I'll see you on March 30th. Mr. Pursuer, I need an order from you on the community service hours, okay? Ms. Creamy.
Judge, also, I think I heard that we weren't sure if he actually completed his counseling, his substance abuse counseling.
Correct?
So if that, if he had, if you could just also provide that completion to his probation officer.
Okay. Okay, Mr. Pursuer, your next case is Terry Snyder, 19 CT 1510, who is coming forward. Good morning, Ms. Snyder.
I just discussed with my client, she's having some health issues, financial issues. It's not willful that she's not paying. She just doesn't have the finances right now. But she messaged into the clerk of the court that she wanted to see about a payment plan. Was trying to split the payments.
Okay, but ma'am, I understand financial difficulties, okay, and I'm sympathetic to that, but one of the allegations in your affidavit is that you simply failed to make yourself available to your probation officer when they called you. That doesn't cost you any money. What about that? Mr. For sure, I mean, it looks like most things have not been done, even things that don't require money. How about community service?
Judge, I apologize for interrupting, but we're actually set for a VOP hearing today. We're prepared to go forward. My understanding is she hasn't made any progress with Mr. Hendricks on that.
Well, in a minute, I'm still talking to her and to Mr. Persure. So there are some things, I'm sympathetic to financial difficulties, but there are some things you could have been doing that don't require finances. Like the simple requirement of making yourself available to your probation officer. Your financial situation is not an excuse to that. And that's an important part of probation, is being available to your probation officer. So we're here for a hearing today. Mr. Persure, I'm going to come back to you in just a minute. Let me go to Mr. Hendricks to get his official version on what's been done and what hasn't been done. And then I'll come back to you and you tell me whether you're ready for the hearing. Mr. Hendricks.
Yes, Your Honor, I have this as the fourth VOP court date now with no progress made, 0 conditions completed. I know she was not present for the last 2 court dates, possibly just continuances. Probation officer, I know how it is on standby for the hearings.
When you say 0 conditions completed, you mean since the filing of this affidavit 4 months ago?
Yeah, since probation started, I would say 14 months ago, no conditions were completed. Since the affidavit was filed November 3rd, and to this court date today,
Nothing's been done. All right, thank you. Ms. Creamy, what's the offer for Ms. Snyder?
Your Honor, the offer is revoke probation, 90 days in jail with credit for all time served, and conditions outstanding.
So the offer is an adjudication of guilt, court costs, cost of prosecution, public defender costs, 90 days in jail with credit for all time served, and your probation would be revoked with conditions outstanding. Mr. Persure, I'm going to ask her to sit down, and then you all can discuss this case, and when I call you back, you tell me if you want to accept that offer or have a hearing. Okay, have a seat, ma'am. Thank you. We'll recall your case. Mr. Rodriguez is here on Mario Arazo, 18 CT 2956, both of whom are coming forward. Good morning, gentlemen. Yes, sir.
John, over here today, I spoke with the state attorney prior to the hearing. Prior to my client's enrollment in his counseling, about a year, saying that he needed a couple more sessions to be done by April 1st. But
He's actually enrolled?
yes.
Okay, go ahead. Okay.
But prior to that, we had come to an agreement where she said if we came here present with the client, it would revoke probation, as time served, and then just adjudicate court costs.
All right, Ms. Creamy, what do you say about that?
That's correct, Judge. The offer is revoke, time served, all costs, conditions outstanding.
And he wants to take it? Take the offer? All right, raise your right hand, face clerk to be sworn, please.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you shall give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Okay, you can put your hand down. Sir, tell me your name. Mr. Arazo, you're here on a violation of probation. The offer is an adjudication of guilt, court costs, cost of prosecution, time served, so no additional jail time. Your probation is revoked, conditions outstanding, which means no additional probation. Do you understand that? Do you have any questions? Do you want to accept that offer? Do you admit that you were placed on probation here in Collier County for 2519 for DUI? Do you admit you violated conditions 2, 10, and 12 of your probation? Did you read an admission of a VOP admission form? Do you understand everything that's explained on that form? Do you understand that by entering your admission today, you are waiving all of those rights? Do you understand that your admission will be used against you in a deportation proceeding if you're not a United States citizen? Counsel, will you stipulate to venue and the factual basis contained in the discovery material? All right, thank you. Mr. Arazo, I'll accept your admission. Find it freely, voluntarily, knowingly entered upon a factual basis and in your best interest, adjudication, costs, time served, probation's revoked, conditions outstanding. Okay, thank you both. Good luck to you. Accept. Is Miguel Ortiz here? Pro se. Mr. Ortiz is 19 CT 1972. Good morning. He's here. And so probation terminated, VOP dismissed. Is that right? Okay, granted. Mr. Ortiz, the state just asked me to dismiss this case. I've granted that request, so it's over. Probation is terminated, and the VOP case is dismissed. So you're free to go. Do you understand all that? Okay, thank you, sir. Yes, it worked. Yeah, thank you. Okay, your case is over. You're free to go. Okay, that's it. Thank you, Mr. Ortiz. Rafael Santos, 19 CT 2114, also pro se. And coming forward, I believe. Good morning, Mr. Santos. Do you have a lawyer?
No, sir.
All right, you're also here on a VOP. Let me hear an update from the state. Ms. Creamy? You need to...
We're here for a status, to give it time to take his findings. He's not sure, just update.
All right, Mr. Hendricks, he's got some paperwork. Can you take a look at that, please? This is Mr. Santos. Mr. Santos, have you made some progress?
Done, complete, hopefully.
Oh, completed. Okay,
Sure.
very good.
Just made a plan.
Okay, very good.
Right, we have, affidavit was just the fines and court costs, which he paid in full on February 16th. Today, he paid a E6 suspension clearance, which resolves to zero. So,
Great, so he's completely done.
yeah, so we would recommend the state courts, dismiss the DOP.
Ms. Creamy, did you hear that?
Okay, yeah, so they asked the court to, dismiss violation of probation termination.
Granted, because you've done everything, okay? The VOP is dismissed, probation's terminated, it's over, and you're free to go. Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Santos. Okay, thank you. Tommy, did I sign those orders or did I just hand them to you? Okay. Oh, okay. All right, so that was Mr. Santos. Thank you.
Yes, having a little bit of trouble,
So I have, oh, we have a translator here. Mr. Ortiz, your case, oh, Mr. Hendricks, you're gonna handle that? Thank you. So, Ms. Creamy, I've got the order here for Mr. Ortiz, signed and delivered. And your work? Not sure yet. They're using that area. I'll check in a minute. Yes. Nothing yet? Mr. Hendricks is full service. Zero paper. Tommy, there's no paper, but Tommy is coming to the rescue here. All right, so while they're doing that, Mr. Casassa is here on Ronald Forbes, 18 CT 1137. Good morning, Mr. Casassa. And Mr. Forbes is coming forward as well.
Judge, you may remember Mr. Forbes had one condition outstanding. His completed part that he's done in school. He's just supposed to follow this violation.
Okay.
In light of that, Mr. Creamy has made me a plea offer. Enter an admission to it. And would ask the court to sentence you guilty, sentence him to time served with conditions outstanding.
Ms. Creamy, is that right?
Yes, Judge.
Mr. Forbes, can you raise your right hand, face the clerk to be sworn, please?
solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you shall give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
All right, sir, what is your name? Mr. Forbes, the offer again is an adjudication of guilt, court costs, cost of prosecution, time served. Your probation will be revoked with conditions outstanding. Do you understand that? Do you have any questions? Do you want to accept that offer? Do you admit that you were placed on probation here in Collier County, March 20, 2019 for reckless driving? Do you admit you violated conditions 2, 10, and 12 of your probation? Did you read and sign a VOP admission form? Do you understand everything that's explained on that form? Do you understand that by entering your admission today, you are waiving all of those rights? Do you understand your admission will be used against you in a deportation proceeding if you are not a United States citizen? Are you under the influence of drugs, alcohol, or medication? Mr. Casassa, will you stipulate to venue in the factual basis contained in the discovery material? All right, sir, I'll accept your admission, find it freely, voluntarily, knowingly entered upon a factual basis and in your best interest, adjudication, judgment, and sentence as I previously stated. Thank you, Mr. Forbes, and good luck to you. Thank you, Mr. Casassa. Accept. And Ms. Creamy, I did get that order, thanks to Tommy and Mr. Hendricks and on Santos. All right, and we've got 3 cases left, all with Mr. Pershore, who is in the hallway. So we'll wait just a minute until he comes back in. And do I need to talk to him, or?
Well, the issue was, it sounds like he now needs an interpreter. I didn't realize that.
Okay. Mr. Ortiz, your violation of probation case has been dismissed. So it's over and you're free to go. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thanks. Sir, what is your name, please? Okay. Your attorney's in the hallway, okay? I can't take your case until he comes back in, so just give us a few minutes. That, Ms. Karimi, that's Mr. Finley who is here. I don't think so. Mr. Finley, no. Mr. Finnerty, no. No, no translator. Thank you. Ms. Karimi, what was that? Well, we'll address that when his attorney comes back in. All right, I'm not going anywhere, but we're going to be in recess until Mr. Pershore comes back in. I'm just going to turn this off, but I'm still here. Okay, we are back in session on our VOP hearing docket. Mr. Pershore and Mr. Wilson are back in the courtroom. Mr. Pershore, just an FYI, your client Devin Finley is in the courtroom. We'll take his case next. Terry Snyder is first, 19 CT 1510. Pardon me? No, I want to do Snyder. And then we'll take, when I say he's next, I mean after Snyder. Sorry. All right. And the offer previously conveyed to Ms. Snyder, I believe, Ms. Creamy, was an adjudication, all costs, 90 days in jail, credit time served, revoked, conditions outstanding.
Yes, Your Honor. I'm asking for continuance of unprepared for hearing today. I'm here in this case. And got over some contradictory evidence. I'd like to review.
Like what?
It appears that there are some emails that she's had contact information.
Okay. I'm sure the probation office has those emails. I mean, when did these purported emails go out? You have dates?
10, 12, 2020, 10, 5, 12, 9, 2, 20, 8, 12.
Okay, so at least 5 or 6 months ago. Okay. I'm not persuaded yet.
I'm sorry. So, monthly probation report, February 3rd.
Okay. Is that it?
Well, it sounds like she has agreed that she
Discovery that, well, it sounds like, so she just said it sounds like Mr. Persure has discovery that he has not yet disclosed to the state. Sounds like discovery she's not yet disclosed to her attorney. Did she just tell you that about that today?
He asked me because we were requesting that she's had contact.
Have you reviewed these emails?
I have not had time to review this email. That's why I'm asking for continuance.
How can you proffer to the court how these emails are relevant?
Because Your Honor was suggesting that she had no contact at all with the probation officer.
That's one allegation, condition 9, specifically on August 11th, 2020. I didn't say she's had no contact. That's one allegation. Okay, so how else would these, well, you can't really proffer how they're relevant because you haven't reviewed the substance of the
I haven't
emails.
had time to prepare for this case. Like I said, I've inherited this case, so I'm not prepared to go.
Well, this may put you in a bad spot, but that's your client's fault. This case is an old case. She's done nothing since the filing of this affidavit. I told you that when you break, you can discuss with her the options of accepting the offer or having a hearing. And those are her two options. Sure. Ms. Creamy, you ready for a hearing?
We are judged. I understand the defense, so we are basically agreeing. We'll come down to the courtroom.
You'll do what in the courtroom?
We'll come down to the courtroom when we're ready to have the hearing.
Okay. Well, Mr. Persure, Mr. Wilson, and their client are stepping into the hallway again, so we'll be in recess until they come back. Again, I'm not going anywhere. All right, we are back in session, State of Florida versus Terry Snyder, case number 19 CT 1510. We have Ms. Karimi and Ms. Damrath in the courtroom for the state, Mr. Pershore and Mr. Wilson in the courtroom with Ms. Snyder. Mr. Pershore.
Yes, Your Honor, my client is prepared.
All right, she can step up next to you. Ma'am, will you raise your right hand and face the clerk to be sworn, please?
I solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony shall give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
All right, you can put your hand down. What is your name? All right, Ms. Snyder, the offer again is an adjudication, court cost of prosecution, 90 days in jail with credit for all time served. Your probation is revoked with conditions outstanding. Do you understand that? Do you have any questions? Do you want to accept that offer? Do you admit that you were placed on probation here in Collier County December 2nd, 2019 for DUI over 1.5? Do you admit you violated conditions 2, 9, 10, and 12 of your probation? Did you read and sign a BOP admission form? Do you understand everything that's explained on that form? Do you understand that by entering your admission today, you are waiving all of those rights? Do you understand that your admission will be used against you in a deportation proceeding if you are not a United States citizen? Mr. Pershore, will you stipulate to venue in the factual basis contained in the discovery material?
Yes, sir.
Ms. Damrath, anything else from you? All right, ma'am, I'll accept your admission. Find it freely, voluntarily, knowingly entered upon a factual basis and in your best interest, adjudication, judgment, and sentence as I previously stated. Thank you, Ms. Snyder. Good luck to you. Accept. Okay, Mr. Finley, you can come on up, sir. This is Devin Findley, 19 CT 218, also with Mr. Pershore. Sure. Thank you.
Your Honor, my client only has one last thing to do. I'm asking the continuous status hearing so that he can finish up.
What is that last thing he has to do? Mr. Hendricks, what can you tell me about Mr. Finley, please?
Last status I had, this was his 11th DOP court date. The DOP was filed a year ago. We were waiting on his substance abuse counseling. And last month he couldn't come in because of his security assessment with coronavirus at the door. And then we haven't seen him for several months because he continues to, but I still don't have proof that he even entered counseling, progressing in counseling. Nothing's come to our office. So I have no complaint with counseling since the last.
Well, he says not only has he entered counseling, but he only has one left. You don't have any documentation regarding any of that.
Our office does not.
Mr. Pershore? Or Mr. Hornbeck? Yes, sir?
If you'll tell us where he is doing counseling, I'll be happy to call him right now.
Okay. Who is it? We need to know where it is. What?
Sounds scared. He's explaining that he wasn't going because he got COVID and then he got into a car accident.
Well, but he's also said he only has one left, right? I thought you said you have one left. Isn't that what you said, mister? Hold on a second. So 3 left. That means he's done some. So when Mr. Hornbeck calls, that's what they're going to tell him, right? Okay. So we'll wait for Mr. Hornbeck to come back. In the meantime, Ms. Damrath, is there an offer for Mr. Finley?
Mr. Robbins, revoked 30 days in jail and credit time served and costs.
So the offer is an adjudication, all costs, 30 days in jail, credit for time served, probation is revoked, conditions outstanding. The defense request is a continuance. I won't ask the state for your position until we hear from Mr. Hornbeck. Okay, Mr. Finley, you can have a seat until Mr. Hornbeck returns. Yeah, that's Mr. Finnerty, right? He'll be next. Actually, we can address him now while we wait. John Finnerty is 18 CT 2426. I believe this is a status with Mr. Pershore.
Yes, Your Honor, my client informed me that he was having congestion very sick. He's also he's had mouth surgery, so it wasn't difficult to talk to him. Just the best way to do it, so I put him for a client.
State. All right, so March 30th. March 30th at 10 o'clock for another status.
Yes.
All right,
I would like to ask
sure.
there has been no progress made since his last patient.
Okay, thank you. I don't know if that's based on the surgery that we've just heard about, but we'll set this for a status again. I also know Mr. Pershore was just recently appointed. We dealt with Mr. Finnerty pro se for much of his probationary status. So again, Finnerty continued to 3:30, 10 o'clock status, leaving us with Mr. Finley, and we're waiting for Mr. Hornbeck to come back. I'm not going anywhere, but we're in recess until he comes in. Oh, I haven't seen that yet. No. Ms. Damrath, you're at AVE?
Yes, sir.
Are you in your last semester?
Yes, I am.
Oh.
Graduating today.
All right, fantastic. Congratulations.
I'm excited. I'm hoping to work for the state. It's my goal.
Here?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. I'd like to stay in Florida. I have a brother that is in Fort Worth. My family works this coast.
Okay.
And my parents are still up in New York, but they are they listed their house. So hopefully they sell their house and they move down to the Sunshine State for the snow.
Okay. Yeah, they want to thaw out.
Yes, they do.
So when you say state in Florida, anywhere in Florida, or do you have a preference?
I prefer to see down in this area. I don't really have any desire to go to these schools. It's a whole different world. Things are done a lot differently.
Yeah.
So I would like to stay in this area.
Well, what's nice about your CLI, especially in your last semester, is it basically turns into a 4-month internship, or I should say 4-month interview, because they have the opportunity to observe you and see how you do your work. And so that puts you, I think, in a really good position if there are openings to apply. There are. Okay, Chief Karimi confirms that there are openings, so that's a good thing for you.
Yes, I'm excited. I have an interview
Okay.
I'm hoping to get my feet wet and, get my hands into everything that I can.
April 14th here in the 20th.
Yes.
Okay. And Ms. Cremia, are you on that committee or is that James? James. Well, I knew one of you was on that committee. That's James Stewart. Okay.
And I think our office now, what we're doing is your seal, I think it's your seal live, or I had your
Oh, great. Okay, so that tells us you don't give interviews to everybody. You screen some out based on a paper review.
right, and then separately, if you just apply, you didn't do an internship, if you just apply, right, we do a background check, we do some
Yeah.
references, things like that.
Well, that's great. So there is an opening. You're going to have several months under your belt getting to know the people involved and show them what you can do. So I would think you're in pretty good shape. Yeah, that's fantastic. I did the same thing when I was in your shoes my last semester, but I was in Pinellas County. And that internship turned into a job there right afterwards. State Attorney's Office, yeah. Well, good luck to you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate
Yeah.
it. I'll be very interested.
Well, I hope so as well. You did a nice job on your motions.
I was very prepared to take for a hearing.
Well, that's the way it works out. If you want to have a hearing, come to court when you're not prepared.
No, my father told me don't ever go to, was my father?
Yeah, that's right.
You don't ever want to be under torture.
Yeah, and well, listen to Dad. That's good advice. No doubt. He was. No, I didn't know that. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. So what's your connection with the 6? How do you know that? Oh, okay. Huh? Oh, yeah. We, my memory is so terrible. You and I had that conversation, and she was your professor. She was my trial team partner.
No, yeah, I did an internship in the 6 months.
Okay. All right, well, we're still waiting for Mr. Hornbeck, so we're in recess until he comes back in. All right, Mr. Hornbeck is back. So we are back in session. Devin Findley, 19 CT 218. Again, we have Ms. Damrath and Ms. Karimi for the state, Mr. Pershore, Mr. Wilson for defense. Mr. Findley is present as well. Mr. Hornbeck, you were checking on his counseling.
Yes, Your Honor, I could not get through. Could no one answer the message going to their website. They could not until 30.
Okay, so thank you for attempting that. I appreciate it. Mr. Pershore, take me back to your original request. What was that, please?
I just asked for a continuance for a stats hearing, so like, some time to prepare my client, we offer that to the table.
State?
Your Honor, I don't know if Ms. Paul was still here in the last meeting. The notes that I have in the file indicate as Mr. Henry stated that the plan was for doing for last month. The board said no more continuances, and that at the time the defendant had 3 sessions left for his substance abuse counseling. So it seems to me we're still in the same position we were in that moment.
Mr. Pershore.
He contracted COVID and got a car accident, that's why. Informed me that he's getting his paycheck.
Okay, Mr. Finley, you no longer have COVID, right? So that was delayed last time for a valid reason. But what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna grant this request, but I'm gonna make it very clear to you, your next court date, March 30th, we're set for a hearing. And that will be your final continuance, no further continuances, okay? So when you come back, and that is me giving you some allowance for your illness and giving you some extra time because you were sick, okay? But when we come back on March 30th, you're gonna have 2 options instead of 3. Your option number 1 is going to be to accept the offer. Option number 2 will be to have a hearing. you will not have the option of a continuance, absent exceptional circumstances. Do you understand that? Any questions? Mr. Hornbeck, you have something you want to add?
Yes, Your Honor, you would instruct the defendant to, when he goes to counseling, to sign a release, so that he would send us some information on his counseling, especially if he's done, he'll send us a certificate.
Do you understand what he's asking?
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
You need to sign a release form with the counseling that you go to so they can release the information to probation. So I'm directing you to do that. You can't just come in and tell me what the status is. I need documentation to prove it. Okay, and that documentation should go from the counselor to probation. And in order to make that happen, you have to sign that release. Do you understand that? Mr. Hornbeck, anything else from you?
No, Your Honor, thank you.
State, anything else from you? Mr. Brasher? All right, Mr. Finley, sign your notice, March 30th, 10 o'clock. I'll see you then. Thank you. And I believe that completes our docket. Anything further to come before the court? Going once? Oh, they ordered. Okay. I'm going to sign an order